The technology we're talking about is 60, 70 years old from this page. Think about the advancements we've made since then. You know, if you think about it, if we drop some dry ice into a hurricane, it spins out of control and they're like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't do that again. That didn't happen. They're going to continue doing this. Weather's the most important thing to a human being. You know, Lyndon Johnson, I believe it was, control the weather, you control the world, you control history. He didn't say that for no reason.
Did the government make the hurricanes to destroy the Southeast so that Kamala Harris can win the election?
Make or manipulate?
Never let a good
Well, I went for
storm
the
go
most
to waste.
extreme version of the story.
Well, do you guys, you say you
our
don't believe in
I don't believe
hurricanes
that
being made.
No, I don't think they can control it.
Okay.
Now, manipulating it is another topic because obviously they do have a lot of cloud seeding programs, and a lot on the internet right now. They're talking about lasers seeding clouds as well. And I looked at their experiment, and this is a very small room and a little thing. However, the sun, we just had a flare, that produces enough electrons to seed lots of moisture. So whenever you have a solar flare combined with a hurricane and maybe some manipulations, I think they can do a Ho Chi Minh Trail type thing and make it rain more.
Right.
I just don't think that they're creating the hurricanes. They're just going to where they know they are created or they're already created. You see, they put up the plane in this last one.
Of course. And where do you guys fall on that?
I believe they can create them.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as easy as people may think. This is a combination between HAARP, lower level things like NextRad, and then simple radar towers, 5G, towers, things like that. Things can be manipulated. The jet stream can be controlled, and there's definitely examples out there where they have hurricanes that were sitting in one area with a lot of military around them, like the airplanes and stuff like that, as if it was a project. They were working on it. It was getting bigger and smaller, and then eventually dissipated.
When was that?
When?
Yeah, like what?
They started doing that in the 40s and
1948.
50s.
When they started creating a hurricane?
They started messing with them.
Creating hurricanes. 1948 is when they started dropping silver iodide
47
bombs into
If
Hurricane King. Right.
47 was Project Cirrus.
Yep.
That's when they dropped dry ice into a hurricane, thinking it would dissipate it.
Yep.
It actually caused it to hook a turn right into Florida and actually killed somebody.
So is this the one where they said we're going to choose to work on this hurricane with the planes because we think it's just going to go out to sea? And then when they went back the next day, it actually turned.
Oh yeah, take a look at this.
And I believe it was a little sooner than that. It was a little sooner than the next day.
So let's pull up our good old fact check. We got Wikipedia here, and the reason I'm using this is because this is what YouTube will put on the bottom of this video.
Yep.
They'll use a Wikipedia source to reject or deny any of the claims made. But this is a Wikipedia for Project Stormfury, an attempt to weaken tropical cyclones by flying aircraft into them and seeding them with silver iodide. Project run by the United States government from 62 to 83. The hypothesis was that silver iodide would cause supercooled water in the storm to freeze, disrupting the inner structure of the hurricane, and this led to seeding several Atlantic hurricanes. Seeding hurricanes? However, it was later shown this hypothesis was incorrect. Later determined that most hurricanes do not contain enough supercooled water for cloud seeding to be effective. Additionally, researchers found that unseeded hurricanes often undergo the same structural changes that were expected from seeded hurricanes. This finding called Stormfury's successes into question, as the changes reported now had a natural explanation. But the last experimental flight was 1971 due to a lack of candidate storms and a changeover in NOAA's fleet.
But that goes into it. That's manipulation, not creation. That's modification, not creation. There's a huge differential there. That lexicon is very important of creating or manipulating or modifying.
But I'd actually assume that creating is substantially easier than manipulating because planting a seed is very, very easy. Moving a tree is very, very hard. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the way I look at it. If so you have a small depression form and then it starts to expand and grow as the storm grows wild and crazy. The implication to me that you could move a 30-mile wide hurricane sounds pretty nuts, but the idea that you could seed with a very small, and I mean very, very small, part in a warm water that creates the beginnings of what could be a hurricane seems much more plausible. Not that I'm saying it's possible. I'm saying it seems easier to plant a seed than move a hurricane.
Right. Well, you also think about this very quickly, just some simple math. The technology we're talking about is 60, 70 years old from this page. Think about the advancements we've made since then. If you think about it, if we drop some dry ice into a hurricane, it spins out of control and they're like, ooh, maybe we shouldn't do that again. That didn't happen. They're going to continue doing this. Weather's the most important thing to a human being. Lyndon Johnson, I believe it was, control the weather, you control the world, you control history. He didn't say that for no reason.
So just because we're very much in the beginning of this, and I know there's going to be a lot of the fact checkers spamming the flag button. Here's a story from the AP News. Here's why experts don't think cloud seeding played a role in Dubai's downpour. That's great. I appreciate that from the experts. The important part of the story is that they did cloud seed and do cloud seed in Dubai to increase rain. Whether that resulted in mass flooding or not is irrelevant. All that matters is the AP is outright telling you that governments of the world are cloud seeding intentionally. They are making it rain on purpose. That's normal.
Yeah, Dubai admits that on the record, though. They publicly claim that they do that.
Yeah,
China has as well during the manipulation of weather during the Olympics. So it's not a secret. They're coming out and telling you forthright that it is happening.
Oh, I want to even go back to 1861. There was that colonel they called the Rainmaker who went out to
Yes.
sea and
Flooded.
literally bombed the atmosphere and said I could create and he had a patent for it, right? And they were like, and then he took credit for every storm.
When was this?
Yeah.
1861.
Yep.
1860. What is this? Story?
They called him the Rainmaker. I think there's an article maybe in the Intelligencer about him.
You notice even Dubai, though, is still using the old tech. Like you're talking about that is really old tech, but have you seen the planes that they're using now to do it? It's the exact same tech. They haven't changed. I mean, it's like maybe a little more sophisticated, but they're still relying on this idea of seeding nuclei to get water to fall. And, to be fair to the conspiracy theorist, why did we do that on the Ho Chi Minh Trail? We did do that, and we did attack people with the idea that we were making it rain more. So is it that far-fetched that your government might want to sway an election by doing the same thing if they would try to win a war doing it? I mean, that's where I get into the conspiracy part of it, but I just don't actually think that they can do what people are claiming, like as far as pushing a hurricane or moving it around.
I would give, I mentioned planting a seed versus moving a tree. I guess another way to put it is starting a fire is terrifyingly easy, but a wildfire is completely out of your control. Right. So is it, I think it is within the realm of possibility that the United States government or other governments have the capability to ignite what would be akin to a fire in an atmosphere. Absolutely. But controlling it, I don't know that I believe. Right? Because that's pretty crazy. You can't I guess you can control a wildfire with controlled burns to try and direct it in certain directions. So,
I think it's possible. You brought up HAARP and talking about hurricanes. What can you say about that, and why would you say HAARP?
Well, because HAARP is the biggest type of technology. In fact, I believe there's even technology higher than HAARP now. HAARP's been around forever.
High frequency active oral radio
research program.
Yep.
Yeah, and why do people think that HAARP changes the weather?
It burns
that
the
seems made up to me.
Well, they are messing, with the ionosphere, right? But what we're talking about is really small. They're pushing a little bubble up. Nothing the size of a hurricane, nothing the size that could do that.
See, that's not the point, though. For HAARP, though, HAARP's not creating the hurricane. HAARP's adjusting the atmospheric conditions on Earth to allow hurricanes to be formed in a certain area on Earth.
But keep high pressure in place.
The problem with that, though, is how could you prove that if all the hurricanes keep coming out of the same spots over time? You can look at all the tracks of them. They're either coming out of the Gulf.
The U.S. government really hates
coming off of Africa, right?
Well,
they start out.
Milton formed in a spot we haven't seen a hurricane form in, can't even remember how long.
It's like about the fourth in 100 years, something like that. Yeah.
And that's the other thing. People keep saying something's rare, and you're looking at an environmental scale of the Earth that's so big. Right. We're talking about a fraction. So when we're saying it hasn't happened in 100 years, that's really nothing on a climate cycle at all.
True.
I think
I got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The HAARP thing really it grinds my gears because it doesn't seem to have any substance to it. People just started saying one day that HAARP is controlling weather or affecting weather, and I'm like, I've watched Alex Jones. I've read a whole bunch of crazy conspiracy stuff. I watched tons of conspiracy documentaries going back to when I was a teenager. One day, people are like, HAARP is doing this thing. And as much as I've read the craziest, I can tell you all about the Denver airport and the sub-basements and the lizard people and the horse, the blue demon horse that killed the guy who made it. Right? That's crazy. And the pictures of the German kid with the iron fist. Every time I've read about HAARP, there's this big leap where they're like, they built the thing, also it controls the weather. And I'm like, where's the missing link
I think it's more than just controlling weather. I think they're burning, they'll tell you they're burning a hole in the ionosphere, which is where radio transmissions go. Migratory birds use the ionosphere, the magnets with the cryptochromes. It's affecting something. I think it doesn't just stay in the hole. I think there's a ripple effect, honestly. And other people would say that by doing this, you ever heard of cymatics? Like with frequencies used to make sound become matter. I think there's something to Tim's point. The leap, that's for me is where I'm thinking if you can control something through frequencies like cymatics does with shapes and matter or sound into matter, that's a reason it could potentially be controlling weather.
I just scale it up. Now the sun's frequency is changing, so that would also bend and also have changes in Earth's magnetic field. So could you do something at a higher amplification possibility by knowing that resonant frequency is changing, because it's a known fact Earth's magnetic field is declining. It was about 5% per decade, but now has that sped up? I mean, the swarm data has gone offline. So use cymatics and bring it into a different magnetic field state, and then could the output be different because of that different field that it's evolved in?
Yeah, I think there's a potential for something nefarious to be happening there.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.